Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Water Running Podcast. I'm your host, Maren, and this is a podcast where we feature and celebrate the amazing high school and collegiate cross-country and track and field athletes and their accomplishments from the Blue Water area of Michigan. In this episode, we have Coach Matt Fecht, the head cross-country coach at Macomb Community College. He'll give us some insight into the new and returning roster lineup, what summer training is looking like for the Monarchs, their team culture, building their program to offer their athletes unique experiences, and what's on their future checklist of goals as they enter their competition season. If you are a local coach that would like to join me for an episode and chat about your team, please reach out at bluewaterrunning.org or on our social media sites. You can also submit your input for your team on the upcoming season for the written article there as well. Welcome to the Blue Water Running Podcast.
Yeah, so Matt Fecht, head coach at Macomb Community College for men's and women's cross country, as well as indoor track and outdoor track, which we're excited to really get underway this year with a little bit more expanded roster with those track teams. I've been at Macomb as the head coach for 5 years. Before that, I was coaching at Wayne State for the better part of 10 years or so. And kind of like most people, got started, just got roped into running with one of my brother's friends. And he said, "Hey, this will be a good way for you to get in shape for a different sport." And I said, running doesn't sound like too much fun. Seems like punishment for baseball and hockey. So just decided to go out and, kind of kept at it for a long time, and was able to run at Macomb for a year, and then transferred to Wayne State for my last 3 years of eligibility, and then ran professionally for a few years. So kind of went the whole gambit of it, of not really wanting to do it to learning to kind of love it, and then to where it almost became a little bit of a job. So kind of seen it all.
Yeah, so you have a great perspective for any runner at any stage because you've been in all of them.
Yes.
Well, let's take a look at what's been happening over the summer. So let's talk about your team's preparation and how you've kind of started getting things together, looking ahead towards competition. So talk about, I'm pretty sure you had a summer camp because I follow you on Instagram and it looks like you guys were at the sand dunes.
Yeah, we went up to Sleeping Bear Dunes, where this is the, I believe, second year we've done camp up there. But to take it back even further, we kind of had a brief meeting at the end of the summer, or the beginning of the summer, the end of the school year, and kind of set out the training plan that we wanted to see everybody enact. And hey, if the team wants to hold a couple captains practices over the summer, the more that we can do that, the more you're going to bond as a team, and makes those summer running miles a little bit easier when it's super hot outside, or you got to get up super early to avoid it, or you get random Canadian wildfire smoke and you got to go suffer on the treadmill a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think, especially on our girls team, every time I checked my Instagram feed or something, they had met up and went for a run, and they came into camp really, really in shape and ready to go. And that's not saying that the guys team didn't. They came in pretty good, maybe a little bit behind in the team bonding aspect compared to the girls team, but we were pleasantly surprised with how everybody came into camp. And we had, I think, 3 days at the school before we loaded up the vans and went up to Sleeping Bear Dunes, and we got a bunch of mileage and a bunch of hard work, and a lot of bonding time, which is the most important part with having a commuter team and not having dorms or anything like that, where the kids get that non-practice time together, which I think is super important in order to build those lasting relationships and friendships.
Absolutely, especially when you're diving into some pretty long car rides and competition and all the things that go along with being a cross-country team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as you go through the summer, is your primary focus just on building the mileage and the team aspect, or is there anything else that kind of pops out to you as something that is an important element for summer training?
I think just the getting out there and getting that base built. Obviously we all know cross country and running in general is just a massive overuse injury waiting to happen sometimes. So, you try and get those base mileage in so that, if we have a little twisted ankle on a cross country course, or, we inevitably somebody's going to get sick this year, and, you just hope that the whole team doesn't catch it. But it allows you to take some of those hits when you've done a good job over the summer of creating that base. Um, we're a little bit different than some of the other schools or coaches that I'm friends with what they do. Um, I don't give the kids any workouts to do over the summer. It's all just base. Um, and I encourage them that if they want to go race a road mile or a 5K, go do that if you want to. But, I don't want you necessarily doing mile repeats or kilometer repeats or anything to get ready for it. Just, go out there and have fun with it and just kind of see what happens.
So, what do you think is one of the most important components of training or preparation in the summer? Maybe it's recovery as well, that athletes tend to overlook when they're not with their team, when they're out on their own, or they're meeting more infrequently during that summer season?
I think it's definitely that recovery piece. Everybody's so busy in the summer, you're really not thinking about it too much because, oh, I did nothing. I was just, laying at the beach all day, or we were just hanging out, whatever it happens to be. But, you have the heat, you have obviously staying up late, and a lot of kids are putting in a decent chunk of hours at their jobs over the summer. So, they're not working as much during the cross country season. So I think that rest and recovery portion really gets missed by a lot of kids. You go from working your job for 10 hours a day to then trying to go get your run in. Uh, Especially if you have a job where you've been standing or you've been outside all day, you're kind of almost asking to get hurt a little bit in that aspect. So I think we really focus on, making sure that they're staying hydrated, they're sleeping enough, and that they're getting some food in as well. We try and check in every couple weeks with the kids and, hey, how's everything going? Have seen you haven't updated your log in a while, or just making sure that you're running and and that everything's going good. And we really try to build that accountability factor into them, that, what you're doing in the summer is going to really affect what you're doing in, October and November, when those races really start mattering.
For sure. Well, let's take a peek ahead at the season outlook and some of the goals that you have for your teams. So let's start with, who would you say are some of your key returning runners, which I know is a little bit of a different dynamic at a community college. Like you said, you don't have dorms or residences where students are on campus, which can change up your roster quite a bit. So let's talk about, who are some of your key returning runners we should keep an eye on that have experience from last year?
Yeah, so I think on the guys' side, we have Jacob Casidlo coming back. He was our lone returning cross-country All-American from last year's team. I believe he was 17th in the country, which, is fantastic, and we're excited to get him back. Michael Nivola is coming back as well. They were both high school teammates, and Michael had an unfortunate slip and fall down a hill at the cross-country national championships last year, and didn't quite reach All-American, and I know he's really hungry for that. And we kind of saw that this past year because he qualified for the 5K indoor national championships and outdoor national championships. So I think he's really hungry for cross country again. And then we get back Dylan Penberthy this year, who was an All-American 2 years ago and was out last year with a red shirt, getting over an injury. And we're trying to get him back into the swing of things, training every day and getting workouts and really getting back to what it takes to be a collegiate runner. And, we're probably a little bit behind where we would like him to be right now, but, I've known him for some time now, and we're excited for what he's going to turn back into. So, we're pretty top heavy on the guys side this year, and pretty excited for that with some of the newcomers we brought in. On the girls' side, it's almost completely different. We lost 3 All-Americans from last year's women's team. Grace Wessel's out running for Oakland University now. Emma Dell is up running for Northern Michigan, and then Erin Rowan has just decided that she had a good enough career and kind of taken her life in different paths now, which no nothing wrong with that. And
Hmm.
we return only two on the women's side with Lisa and Erin, who haven't been big contributors in the past, but are going to kind of need to step up a little bit into those roles this year as the only two girls back from last year's team.
Hmm. Well, do you have any specific freshmen or newcomers that you feel will immediately make a contribution, or is that something that just remains to be seen as the season unfolds?
I think on the guys' side, it's kind of hard to tell that because they're making the transition from the
Hmm.
5K to the 8K.
Right.
So, we have a couple kids in that were 16, 20-ish. A kid that came in at right around 1550 with John. But it's hard to tell how that's going to be. You could be great at the 5K and all of a sudden you add almost 2 extra miles on and you're not quite as good as you were at that 5K. So I think it's probably a little too early to tell as we've only had two workouts and they haven't been very long workouts yet, just the past 2 weeks. So we're going to hold off judgment on maybe who's going to, uh, be the one or the two guys that are going to make up the starting five up there.
Hmm.
And I think that, whether it's uh, Jacob or whether it's Noah or whether it's Chris, whether it's Henry, whoever it happens to be with these guys that are making up that top 5, 6, 7, um, we'll see after the first couple of races, that everybody thinks they know what an 8K is until they run it, and then they're like, "Oh, that's two
That's
extra
different.
miles is a little
Hmm.
bit longer than I thought it was."
Hmm.
So I think in that aspect, we think we got some solid depth there, but that remains to be seen yet. So maybe check back with what we're doing here in a couple of weeks and see how they're transitioning to some of that. On the women's side, man, I've told a bunch of people this already, but we have a group of 8 freshmen that are coming in that are all within 30 to 45 seconds of each other, anywhere from, I believe, 2015 to 21 flat.
Nice.
Um, so we've got probably 21:15, so it's probably about a minute, but they're going to change each. I don't think we'll have the same 1 through 7 finish this whole season. I don't think while we don't have missing those three girls as all Americans, we don't have anybody at the front of these races right now. But man, we're going to have depth. Which again, if you're talking about having some goals of going and maybe repeating as conference champion or making it to the national championships, that depth is what's going to really win it for you. And whether you're talking about Mercy Brown or Ava Johnson or Layla Vola, Emma Miller. I could keep going on with a whole list of girls. It's just what we're seeing in camp already, and the first couple of weeks of the season is these girls are hungry for those spots, but you don't have any of the pettiness that you might think. If you're looking around and there's 9 girls that are all within the same time, simple math tells you that only 7 of them are going to matter at the end when we get there to go to nationals. And we haven't seen any of that. Oh, I'm in it for myself, or they're all very supportive of each other. When somebody has a bad day, the whole team's there picking them up because somebody else is going to have a bad day the next day. And, they might need to get picked up there. And, I think just some of that leadership and some of that bonding that they did over the summer has really set that girls team up and put them in a really good position for handling some of those challenges and difficult conversations that are inevitably going to come up this year.
Hmm. Well, you did mention, winning a conference championship, making it to
Hmm.
nationals.
Yep.
Are those the team's main goals, or are there other things that are also factoring into what you hope to accomplish as you look ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think that on the guys' side, we want to win the conference title again and hold the title. We've gone back to back, and we definitely have the firepower up front and some of that back end depth to be able to do that. We've been ninth the past 2 seasons on the men's side at the national championships, and I think just with our early conversations, the guys are wanting to bring home a trophy this year from the national championships, which I think is well within our grasp if we can stay healthy and continue progressing. Um, and just for each individual kid, I think that they have their own goals and, maybe some individual goals that I have for some of them and in terms of where we'd like to see them get, time wise. And, a couple of guys have some individual goals that they might have to beat each other to accomplish. And only one of them's going to get to accomplish that with maybe being a regional champion or a conference champion. But again, it's all that healthy, friendly competition that we have, and it's going to push them to have that success. And I think it's a little bit different on the women's side because we don't necessarily have the firepower up front that we have on the guys' side. I think last year was the first time we've taken a girls' team to the national championships, and well before I got here, I would say probably the better part of a decade since we've taken a women's team there. Um, and they finished 10th, and I think that they'd like to hit that again, to be in that top 10. And I think we definitely have the roster that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about earlier, we might not have that firepower up front, but to really pack those girls in there in the 30s to 50s, and being able to put all 7 of our girls across at a national race right around there, or in a regional race, in that 15 to 30 spot, we might have 7 girls right there. We might not
Right.
have a girl in the top 10, and that's fine. There's plenty of teams that qualify for nationals or, state meets or whatever, where you don't have a runner in the top 10, but, you're doing a good job of pack running. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you're rolling with a bunch of teammates, we got coffee after yesterday's run and we were talking about that. If you roll up 4 or 5 girls deep on, a couple of individual runners in the pack, and they're going to look at you like, oh my gosh, here they come.
Yeah.
And, it's having been there as a runner myself, that's a very uncomfortable feeling when they're talking and you're like, oh, everybody feels great. I'm about to die here. Psychologically, that's going to do something to some of those other runners. And, I think I'm really excited to see how this girls team pans out and exactly what we can do.
Right. And it's great to have a front runner, but a lot of teams have that star power up front and they have nothing to back it up with. And that doesn't win meets.
No.
So, yeah, your pack scoring is definitely the main component you want to focus on for sure.
Yes.
Well, as you mentioned, you
Mhm.
are a community college, which has a different atmosphere just by nature of how school is set up. There aren't dorms, students aren't living on campus. So let's talk a little bit about your team culture. Cross country is still cross country, no matter where it is.
Mhm.
The sport is the same, just, where you're doing it might be different. So what is a tradition or a routine or something that is specific and unique to your program that you feel just kind of makes you who you are?
I think we try and pride ourselves on having a bunch of hard work, and really having that almost blue collar mentality. And, we kind of instill that in them from uh, kind of my personal beliefs with things and kind of my background with running. We kind of instill that. And uh, sounds cliche because I think every cross country team probably has that, grit and determination and blue collarness. But, we really spend a lot of time trying to create that and create that family environment. You know, whether it's going out and getting a coffee as a team afterwards, or I think after their run today, they were all staying at Stony Creek and having a beach day and grilling out a little bit. We're going to go play mini golf tonight, or I'm going to try and be defending champion again. Just going to throw that out there.
Good luck to you.
Yes, going to need it. But we try and spend as much time outside of running and working out as we do running and working out, because again, these are as a runner, what you do every day is not fun. It's not easy. And being able to enjoy things outside of that so that when you're all, inevitably suffering in a workout or, who really wants to go out for, a 6 miler or an 8 miler every day and you're just sitting there and when you can find things and you're actually friends with these people away from running, it just makes it that much more enjoyable. Or, at least I get to hang out with my friends and really building that team culture is I think a hallmark of this program.
I always say there are no bonds as deep as the ones that are forged through painful running.
Yes, exactly.
It creates friendships that other people just can't understand.
Yep.
There's just something about, the same mindset or mentality of someone who gets what you're doing and why you're doing it and suffers right along with you. I know most of my best friends have been my teammates. So it's definitely a unique atmosphere for building friendships for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Well, does your team have a favorite course that they really enjoy racing on? Maybe it is something new you've added to your calendar, or maybe it's just your personal favorite from your coaching perspective. I'm just curious what courses stand out to you or your team.
Um, we try not to, I try to never take a kid to the same race twice unless it's obviously regionals or we've hosted conference the past 2 years, but I believe Oakland Community College is hosting it this year. We're excited. We're going to take the kids up to Wisconsin Parkside this year
Mm,
and get to race on that course. So some of them have never been there, and obviously with the high school regional finals being there for the Midwest Regional,
hmm
a lot of them have seen that course ran, but now to get there and actually, what used to be one of only like I think what 10 truly designated national cross country courses is something fun for them to be able to see and to compete on. And those of them that are going on to the next level after me, odds are you're going to see a national championship or a regional meet there, whether you're at the NAIA, the Division 3, the Division 2, even the Division 1 level, goes there occasionally. I think. And then the other race that I'm excited to take the kids to is we're going to Rochester, New York, and we're going to spend the night in Niagara Falls and, just take them to see something that maybe some of them have never seen with going to Niagara Falls,
hmm
and letting them hang out, get some team time there. And, it's going to be a long drive to get back from there. But, the experiences that we try and give these kids in this program, I think are second to none. Uh, I think we're going to 6 different states this year for races. So,
Yeah, I'm
you
looking
know,
at your schedule. It's pretty diverse.
yeah, we're trying to showcase some of our kids to different states and different areas. And, while we are a community college, we definitely don't want to have the moniker that some people, think of when they think of community college. We're training these kids like they're Division 2 athletes because
hmm
that's where a lot of them have hopes and dreams of going. And having coached at the Division 2 level, we're treating them just like that's what they are.
hmm
Um, and between going to races and being able to provide shoes and other things to them, and our athletic department is so supportive of what we're doing. Um, they got to rein me in a little bit sometimes with with what I want to do. Um, but they're super supportive in letting us go out there and really showcase the kids and be able to give them experiences. Which again, being at Wayne State, we were spoiled and we got so many experiences between what states we were traveling to and kind of camps that we would do and spring break trips that we would do and trying to take some of that and bring it into my program because it was again so important for my development not only as a runner but as a person and now as a coach as well.
Well, I think that is an awesome perspective to have. I was chatting with the SC4 coach earlier this week, and Andrea, and she was talking about how just the well, I like the word trackflation, just the increase in sport awareness and ability levels and development. It's just drastically above where it was even 10 years ago.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
definitely.
the quality of the competition within the junior college or community college level has really grown too. And it used to be this stigma of, well, if you can't go D1 or you can't go D2 or you can't, make it, that's where you end up. And that's not true. Kids are choosing to start out there, showcase what they can do, and use that as a springboard to the next thing while saving a ton of money and getting their degree basics in. And I just feel like that's such a smart and unique way to train that I really hope people are starting to see as a legitimate pathway into continuing your running career.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the kids are coming around to that, especially with the roster limits at the D1 level.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see, it sounds cold maybe a little bit, but reality starting to hit for some of them of, oh,
Right.
I'm not going to make that 15-person roster.
Right.
But there's, you still have some parents that are, oh, I don't want to send my kid to a community college. What that means they're dumb, which isn't your. I always tell the kids and the parents, you're smarter because how much money are you saving
Right.
by coming here? And
Yep.
your degree doesn't say, well, they had to do 2 years at community college first or 1 year. We tell kids all the time in our program that if you're good enough to go or you get the offer to go someplace after 1 year, I'm never going to hold a kid back. Go
Right.
take that.
Right.
Um, I think that, like you touched on, we're, we're competing with, Oakland University and U of D and Wayne State and Saginaw at all the races we go to. So you're going to these races, you're getting to show these coaches, hey, you know what, you might not take a notice of me before, but I just beat some of your runners. You might want to start thinking about taking notice of me.
Exactly.
And just giving these kids that opportunity to do that. Some of them, that we have on our team, were overlooked or got what they maybe considered a low ball offer, and they're betting on themselves. And some of them just like the aspect of, you know what, I'm just going to save my money. I see that kids are getting better at Macomb, and I want to go there. I want to get better, and I want to go on to the next level. And, that's what we're really trying to attract right now is just those kids that want to go to the next level. And maybe it was they're just saving money now, or maybe they felt like they got slighted on what they were worth or whatever it might be. And, I think the biggest thing for kids is you never know what's going to happen with an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't go to D1. Well, that's great. There's a bunch of people that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
If you look up and down the Olympic roster most years, there's probably a good quarter of the people that came from NAIA or Division 2 or Division 3 that weren't big time Division 1 runners, but kept putting in the work over time. And, eventually it just clicked in, or, they didn't leave those schools because those schools bet on them and gave them that opportunity.
Right.
So I think just if it's something that you really enjoy doing, don't let, social media or your feelings on something that your status symbol isn't Division 1 athlete, that's it's not the end all be all of
Exactly.
everything. That nobody's ever asked me what division my All-Americans were from, right? It's, hey, you were an All-American, you must be pretty good. Because
Yeah.
at any level you have to be pretty good to get that All-American. So
Yes. And I think too, people are beginning to realize that the 4-year university financial commitment has been oversold for a really long time
yeah.
when it's not relevant to everyone in their career path. And
Hmm.
I'm, as an educator, I always love seeing that there are multiple pathways to career success or just life enjoyment. You don't have to go to an undergrad program and have this quote status symbol of a degree. Nothing wrong if that's what you want and need, but
Yep.
trades are a great route. Community college is a great route. Like you don't have to go $100,000 into debt to pursue your goals, including athletics. I mean, your program is traveling. You're
Mhm.
giving these students opportunities to race against every division, which I love about cross country because you can't do that in like basketball. You're not going to go play a D1 school if
No.
you're, a community college basketball team, but running, you have the opportunity to be on the same level playing field as anyone.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, I wanted to also mention, you said you're going to Wisconsin. That
Mhm.
was my national meet course. I ran in the NAIA And ooh,
Yeah,
it's a doozy.
yeah. I think the biggest thing is to not get freaked out when you look at the hill.
Right.
Uh,
Because after
eh,
that, it's pretty much over.
yeah, once you get to the top,
Yep.
it takes you a good K to get to the top of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got it's been a few years since I've been there, but I still have that thing ingrained in my head from we raced there too many times.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you have like
same.
500 or 600 meters, and then you just go flying downhill,
Yep.
right back down, and then it's a small little loop in the woods, and the 5K's over.
Yep.
And the 8K, we'll try to not mention that they have to go up that hill again.
Yeah,
But
that's the nice thing
you know,
about the women's race. You don't have to do it twice.
the 10K, you get to do that bad boy 3 times.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, that was never fun.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
rough.
I think it's almost the perfect analogy for it. If you're trying to look at that whole hill at once, you're going to be in trouble. But if you're breaking it down into little segments, kind of like the season,
Hmm.
got a lot of kids talking about PRs already and asking when they're going to PR. And I'm like, well, I have no idea when you're going to PR. I would like everybody to PR every race, but we all know that that's not going to happen. I'm like, they're going to happen when they're going to happen. And,
Yep.
we're all doing the same training. You just got to look at, we got to get through each 2 week segment. We try and break things down into 2 week segments in our program. And, we'll see where you are after 2 weeks. And if you can stack enough good 2 week segments, we should see some PRs. But, you know, you've got to really control what you're doing the 22 hours you're away from the team,
Hmm.
with your eating and your sleeping, and hopefully you're doing your schoolwork and you're not hanging out till all hours of the night, and you're going to class and doing those things. So everybody in the country runs. I tell the kids all the time, some teams whatever did mile repeats, some teams did 5 minute repeats or K repeats, but what did you do on the 22 hours that you weren't practicing,
Hmm.
throughout the day, which I think is way more important than um, what you're doing at practice. Granted, as long as you're actually putting in the effort at practice,
Right.
it's the extra stuff that you're doing outside that is going to really make the difference.
Absolutely. My son is a collegiate runner and he preaches that all the time. And that was a lesson that I tried to teach him as a middle and high schooler, but moms only know so much until you
That
figure out for yourself. So,
you figure it out, or your college coach tells you, you're like, oh, you'll
yeah.
never believe what they told me to do, and you're like,
Are
I
you
told you to
serious?
do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like how many times?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well. The other thing that was funny for me, so I always opened my season in Wisconsin and then ended it with a national meet. So it was like the bookends to my cross country seasons. And my freshman year at nationals, it was like 50 degrees. We went and previewed the course the Friday
Mhm.
before, running it, checking it out. Go to our hotel, wake up the next morning, and 6 inches of snow had fallen, and you couldn't see the start line. There were no boxes, so officials were blow drying
Yep.
the boxes, trying to get the snow to melt, and then it was just a crazy experience. But I
That
think they started the race with a cannon too.
Yeah,
That was the
they
starting
definitely do
gun.
that at
Yeah.
Parkside.
Okay.
That that was the national championships for junior college last year. It was 55 and sunny in Iowa,
Hmm.
and we woke up and
Yes. We had
nothing
the
but
same
snow,
thing.
and we had we were the third race that day. Division 3 went
Yeah.
first, then Division 1, then us. So that
It was a
course was
mud pit.
was pretty chewed up. I think I
Yeah.
ate it twice just trying to get from
Oh.
spot to spot, which I can only imagine. We told the kids, hey, we got long spikes for a
Hmm.
reason. Go put them in.
Hmm.
And when you have 4 or 5 inches of snow, it's still snowing. Plus, you had 4 races go before you. It's just hold on for dear life, and hopefully our
Yep.
stability and core work pays off.
That's when times mean nothing, only place. So,
Yes,
yep.
true cross country.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
kind of like you were talking about with trackflation. I think we've gotten there a little bit with cross country where we just want to see how fast we can run on grass.
Yeah.
And you're seeing not what I like to call true cross country courses where you have some flats, some hills, some
Hmm.
dirt, some rocks. And it's more, hey, this is the flattest net downhill we can do, and let's just go run that.
Well, it looks like your season opener is at Marion for the IWU Invitational.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty flat course. There's a few rolling hills. That was where my son ran his conference meet for the Crossroads Championship last
Okay.
fall, which he actually won and set the course record. But I'm pretty sure that's going to go down quite quickly because IWU has a very strong team, and their top runner won the NAIA 5K track championship. So I'm pretty sure
Mm.
he's going to bust that record pretty
Yeah.
quickly, especially at his home course. I mean, there's a little pride there.
Oh, yeah. And it's,
So
I believe it's a twilight meet too, so
yeah,
probably perfect conditions out there
yes.
for it.
Yes, it's a great course. It's beautifully maintained. It's like a permanent course with markings and its own, gate and start line. It's really a cool place to run. When I ran for Spring Arbor University, they hadn't built that yet, but we still ran around the same area around the campus outside of the school.
Yeah.
And there's a couple neighborhoods that line the streets there, and someone was burning their leaves while we were racing. And I distinctly remember how awful that was because we did 3 loops around this field, and every
Oof.
time we just ran right through this leaf pile. I'm like, seriously, you couldn't have done this a different day?
Yeah. Like of all the times to be
Right,
doing this, what are we doing
right,
here?
yeah. But yeah, that's going to be a fun one too. So I think they'll enjoy that.
Yeah,
Well,
we've been there a couple times for track races, but this will be our first time down there
yes.
for cross.
Yes, they hosted NAI track and field nationals too for 2 years. So that was great for us because from Michigan, that's not too far to travel. And my entire extended family lives within a half an hour of IWU. So
Oh,
we had lots of relatives who could come and cheer, and, I could stay with family. And that's where I actually ran for my national meet a couple times when I was a student. So it's cool to see your own kid running in the same places that you did. So
yeah, it's got to be an awesome feeling just to see that.
yeah, well, it's all over now because he actually transferred and went to Lipscomb. So I won't be watching as much as I wish, but
So
it'll all
it's
be
a little
good.
further of a drive for some
Yeah, just a
races.
bit, just a bit. Well, fortunately he races in Chicago and then Terre Haute, which isn't too terribly far. But then like their pre-regionals in Tallahassee, Florida.
Mm,
So that's gonna be a flight, but that's all
yeah.
good. It's all good. Well, I have one last question about team culture and coaching advice, and that is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a runner who maybe is listening as a high school student? This is going to be their first cross country season ever. Maybe they're a freshman or they just never have come out to run before. So, what would you tell them as they're about to toe the line and run their very first cross country race?
Yeah, I think just have fun with it and enjoy the process. It doesn't matter, like we were talking about places and whatnot. Find a group of people that you can run with or compete with. And if there's nobody around, you always have that stopwatch at the end of the race that's going to tell you how you did. And that thing doesn't ever lie. That thing's always going, so you can always compete against yourself, and don't judge yourself on how your first race or your first couple races or even your first season goes. I mean, I was I think I barely broke 30 minutes, 29 something when I was in high school my first year, and I don't think I got much faster my second year. And then my junior year, I got a little bit, I got better, and by my senior year, I was in the 16s, and I think just be consistent with it. It's already not easy, and if you try and make it easy by skipping days, or maybe we all know that there's cuts in the neighborhood that you can go through to make that 4 miler that coach told you to run into a 2 miler, or out and back, you just happen to stop at the McDonald's or the gas station and hang out for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
till you see everybody come running back. Just go out and enjoy the suffering like we talked about earlier. There can be joy and camaraderie, and hey, we're going through this isn't very much fun, but we're going through it together, and seeing how good you can get, and just trusting that process and being able to be a part of something. And I think that's a great thing with cross country is most runners are a little different than maybe what you would think your typical baseball, basketball, or football player are, where maybe the best person on the team doesn't really want anything to do with the worst player, or somebody that probably would have ended up getting cut if cross country was a cut sport. And I remember in high school, some of the best guys on the team making sure I was doing what I needed to do. And, when I got to be in that position, it was, hey, making sure, hey, freshman, this is why you need to do this. This is, I'm going to spend a day and run back there with you and help you and answer some questions and just be there for each other. So just enjoy the whole process. And, more so than any other sport, you really get out of it what you put into it. So I think just
Absolutely.
enjoy that whole process.
Agreed. Yeah. And it is a process that, I think we're all so used to instant gratification in the world we live in. And it
Yeah.
is years and years. I mean, I love hearing Josh Kerr's story about just his absolute focused dedication for a straight year. Like, this is the goal I have. I've spent my whole career building towards this. This is my singular focus. But all the things
Mhm.
he did before that, built up to that moment. It's not like he just jumped on the line and said, I'll run fast today.
Yeah, I think sometimes we think as athletes, doesn't matter for me how good I was or how bad I was. Sometimes you get caught in looking at, well, it's easy for that person.
Mm-hmm.
When you know darn well that they're doing the same stuff as you are, and they're working hard, and
Yep.
what are they giving up? And there's always going to be a little talent disparity between people, but if you're capable of getting to 17 minutes, the only person that's stopping you from getting there is yourself in a 5K, or
Yep.
15 minutes or 18 minutes or 22 minutes, whatever it happens to be for yourself.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's going to hold yourself back.
Everybody can improve, no matter what that
Yep.
means. Yep.
Hmm.
Well, last question to wrap up our conversation. And I love to ask this of everyone because I think it really gives us a unique perspective into your personality and just what you enjoy. But that is, if
Yeah.
you could go for a run with anyone, and it can be someone from the past who is no longer living, it could be someone from the present, and you could go run anywhere in the world, where are you going and who are you choosing to run with?
Oh man, so many people that you could pick for this one.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I'm gonna say I would probably pick uh Roger Bannister and back on the track in England, and just pick his brain for. I mean, I was never a miler, or you know thought I was a miler, but just the mentality to try and do something that nobody thought was humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
And just it's not like nowadays where you have a book on, you could go read a book or somebody who's done that before. It was literally nobody thought it could be done. And the support system that he had, both positive support and negative support of, people telling him, what are you wasting your time for? You're never going to be able to do this. And just how, what the thought process was on that. I've read a couple of books that he had wrote on it and that people have written about, but just to be on the track where he did it and to kind of just pick his brain on some things, I think that would be a really interesting one to, at the forefront of as much as, you have breaking 2 hours in the marathon, which maybe nobody thought was possible before, but obviously with the shoe technology and some of that stuff now, we're seeing it is. But back then, just there wasn't things like that out there. So I think just to talk with him and see just that thought process, and man, you gotta have a different type of mentality to even want to accomplish something like that. So
Yes, and he did it on a gravel track, not
yeah,
an all-weather turf, where it's
yeah,
a little more forgiving.
yes.
We were having this conversation, which is kind of cool that you brought up Roger Bannister. My son did a road mile this summer, the Ryan Shea road
Hmm.
mile, and he broke four for the first time. And obviously that's not a track. It's a little bit of a different dynamic, but it's still such a cool accomplishment. And I said, when you think about breaking 4 minutes for the mile, nowadays it's exciting and it's pretty, it's an amazing achievement, but we kind of
Hmm.
take it for granted. I said, think about when Roger Bannister was alive. No one had done it ever before. And now you have, and lots of high schoolers have too, even.
Yeah,
And we
it's
think about that used to be the world record.
yeah,
So it's just a crazy thing to put into perspective.
yeah, to think how far it's, the sport has advanced and
Yeah.
evolved, and
Yep.
just with the not only the shoes like we talked about, but the track surfaces and, you know, diets and training
Mhm.
plans and just all the little nuances that go into it.
Yeah, I often wonder, how good could we have been in high school if we would have known all of this? But
That
eh,
if my
can't go
spikes
back.
didn't weigh 5 pounds each.
I did have a gravel track at my high school. So
Oh,
I raced on that. Every home meet, I mean, obviously other schools had, typical all weather tracks, but
yeah,
I didn't even have spikes until I was a junior. I didn't even run cross country till I was a sophomore because I didn't know what it was. I mean, it's just so different now.
I
So,
remember East Detroit had a old cinder track, and I just
hmm
remember like, how do you run on this thing?
hmm yeah, it's more like cross country really because you get the dust and the
Oh,
flying
yeah.
rocks and no grip. And if it rains, good luck.
Oh,
It's just a
yeah.
mud pit. So, that's how old I am, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's been
These kids
awesome.
couldn't do what we did back then.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I don't know. This is a whole new world for them. They'd be like, what? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the 80s and 90s grit, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it has been great to chat with you about all things running. I'm excited to see what your team achieves this season. And as always, we'll be following and cheering you on and hoping for the best and that your goals are, achievable and that you maybe even exceed them.
Oh, we appreciate you having us, and yeah, don't forget to follow along with all our social stuff. And it's going to be an exciting year this year, and hopefully we can meet some of those goals that we have.
Absolutely. If an athlete wanted to reach out to you and just get more information about your program or make contact about perhaps visiting, what would be the best way for them to do that?
They can either reach out to us on our Instagram page or on the Macomb Monarchs website. We have a athlete questionnaire, student athlete questionnaire. Fill that out, and myself or one of our assistants will get back to you. Usually we try and once we get a kid reaching out, we try and get back to them at least to make initial contact within the week. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer as we're a little bit busy with some of the training and some of the things that we got going on, but just reach out and we'd love to hear from you and see if we're fit for you.
Perfect. Well, thanks again so much for coming on to the podcast, and we wish you all the best for your upcoming season.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Blue Water Running Podcast. Please share an episode to help spread the word about our mission, which is to feature and celebrate the achievements of high school and collegiate cross country and track and field athletes from our area. You can follow Blue Water Running on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, along with meet and athlete reports and photographs on the website at bluewaterrunning.org.